Alright, hello. How's everybody doing? So, just continue a little nuke work here. How's it going there, Rasmus? Hello. Did some of this work while I was at work. Some downtime. So, working on, I want to convert the submarine over to nuclear, so go ahead and get this rocking and rolling here. I kill this music. This music's just being annoying right now. Alright, good. I gotta reboot the game again. Some sort of audio issue with the game. I don't know why it does this. Let me check the audio settings in the game again. Nope. Some sort of bug with the game. It's causing audio issues. Let me quickly check settings and I'll reboot it if it's causing a problem. Yeah. Alright, I'll quickly reboot it here. Alright, did a loud startup sound, so hopefully that means the game's gonna go. But how are you doing there, Rasmus? I also flip my laundry while this is booting. Alright, hopefully it should only take a second. Alright, so that was pretty quick. We've got audio now. Alright, so I've been working on some nuke reactors here, trying to get them all functional. I need to get enough power to try to get similar speeds on my ship, so that's kind of what I'm working on here. Doing well. Alright, so we're going to run a quick test here, and I forget what the hell this is. Reactor set temp, okay. See if that's actually plugged in. I think it should be good without that. Let me just, Jesus Christ. Let me just double check, and I want to see. Reactor set temp. I worked on this a couple days ago, so. Okay, I can manually set the temp. Let me see what the other ones are doing. 250. I think 250 was working fine. You know, there's a balance here that, so a lot of people's confusion with Steam, we'll kind of go over some of this, but, so there's a bunch of factors with Steam, and you can, you know, I gotta wait a minute for these to kind of go up, so we'll kind of talk about some of them. If you look in there, you got Steam, so that's how many, theoretically, liters of Steam you have. Fluid volumes, how much fluid, water you have in the boiler. Temperature is the temperature of the boiler. Coolant, A and B, is how much coolant is coming into the boiler and going out. That's the water from the reactor going in to heat up the boiler. How much water is coming in and how much steam is going out. And so if you have zero water, you can't have any steam, right? Because the water expands into steam. If the number of the fluid number is 0, right, you don't have enough water in there to make steam, and your power is going to go down because you can't make any more steam. So that's important to know. And part of that is with a closed loop system here, like a boiler, or a condenser rather, you're sending the steam back through the condenser, you turn it back into water, and that water is going back into the boiler. If the temperature gets too hot around the condenser and the temperature of the radiator gets over 100 degrees, well, it can't condense. The whole point is you have 100-degree steam coming into the condenser, you're cooling it down, which causes it to condense back into water, and then you can send the water back into the boiler, you know, closed loop. And so, you know, one thing a lot of people do is they're just like, you know, higher better, always higher better, and it's not the case. You know, if you run your temperature too high, one, you're wasting fuel, but two, you have such a high ambient temperature that you cannot condense the water back down, and they, you know, so what do? Keep making it hotter and hotter and hotter, where they should be making it cooler. So it's, to them it seems counterintuitive, but it's not. Is to condense the water to get your water back to be able to turn back into steam, you need to be able to keep that below 100 degrees. You know, so that's an important element of it. So I kind of, this isn't quite automated yet, but we have the temperature of the boiler going up. the reactor. Let's try to use the right terminology. This is the reactor. It cycles hot water through the boiler in a loop. There's I can not really see it. Let me see if we can get in there. There's a pump here. And that pump just pumps water from the reactor chamber in through the boiler, and it comes back out in here. So it just cycles it through. And that's going to cause the temperature of the boiler to come up. And ideally, you don't need to be at 3,000 degrees to make steam. You need to be at 100 degrees. So if you notice right here, watch as soon as it hits 100, it's going to make steam. Bingo. See? Make steam. So you don't need 3,000 degrees in the boiler. You need 101. And so there are benefits of having the temperature of the boiler be a little bit higher than 100 because, for example, as things cool off, you don't want it to go back below because it instantly stops making steam. So having it a touch higher is good, but you're just wasting energy. You're putting more ambient heat into the area, which makes your condenser harder to condense. Yeah, I'd rather use pistons than turbines. And I've gotten better power results out of pistons myself than turbines. I've been trying to do a turbine, might do a turbine power generation for just general electricity on there or something. So as you see, the water volumes, the fluid volume's going down, which makes sense, right? Because we're converting water into steam, and the steam volume is going up. Steam out is something like 100-something liters. I've got a pump going here, and there it goes. It's around 60 atmospheres, and it's starting the pistons. And as you can see, it dropped the steam volume down, which makes sense, right? Because until we had enough pressure to go into the pistons, until we had like almost 60 atmospheres to go into the pistons, the steam was stuck in these pipes until the pistons started to move. Well, of course, what's going to happen, right, is your initial steam volume is going to go down because the pistons aren't letting any steam in until they start moving. Now, once they start moving, they need steam in, steam out, steam in, steam out, steam in, steam out. And that's why that steam value went from like 2 point something down to 1 something, is because the steam had to fill all the pistons. And now you see it's going back up because now the pistons are full. Alright, so let's go give a look. Alright, so right here we're doing about 4,800 S-watts. Here's a 4 large piston setup. It's doing about 3,800 S-watts. So this one's twice the size and it's not making twice the power, but we can play with it and tune it a little bit. This one's an 8-cylinder medium. It's making 19. This is one of my newer ones, and so what I want to do is, I'm not glitching with these flywheels. That's bullshit. I don't like that. The point of this is conservation of rotation, conservation of energy, essentially. And the point being is right now nothing's going to the generator. And so one, this is going to make it easier for the pistons to start moving because we don't have them connected. And then the other thing is you'll get oscillations and you get shocks. When you have a flywheel, that starts to cut out the oscillations and the shocks because the flywheels are extra weight that wants to keep moving. And so any sort of like oscillation or shock is going to be taken out of there because the flywheel is going to account for it. So as we throw these in, and some people will do like a 0.7 clutch, which is bullshit, to slip their clutch and make infinite power, essentially. So now we have these flywheels turning, theoretically. Yep, they're turning now. They should take some of the shock out of this. And it should operate more smoothly. So we got a nice smooth ramp up coming here. So right now the It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times 3, 20. I have to do it multiple times, but we'll go 7. So it'll be 3 times 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 3. 65, 61, something like that. 65, 61 to 1, and we can test it. It's 44 RPS. And then we just go by this one, 0.021. So what is it, 44 again? 44 divided by 0.021. I must have done one extra. 2,095 to 1 gear ratio. So right there, that's at 23, doing 44 RPS. What's this, Johnny? This is another one. So I'm starting to test putting some flywheels in. And the whole point is, if you notice, we had oscillations. It was like 4.8, 4.9, 4.8, 4.9. And so I'm trying to see if we can use flywheels to get rid of the oscillation in there. It's like, if you see this, this is dead solid. At you notice it's down 5 decimal places where there's any real flicker, maybe 4 decimal places where there's any real flicker. And then these, as you can see, there's flicker a little bit closer. Now we got to try to diagnose. If you remember before, we had like 48. So now our SWATs are going down. So we need to diagnose this problem. So if we look here, let's see. We have a little less steam volume. Fluid volume's looking good. Temperature's fine. We want to look at atmospheres. We've got about 28 atmospheres going out. That's a little low, so let's play with the temperature. So we've got a set temperature of this. Now I'm not setting the boiler temperature at all. I'm setting the reactor temperature. Let's go up to 280. Jesus Christ, if I could type 280. My God. 280, which is, so it was set at 250, now it's 280. And watch what happens. We have plenty of fluid volume, so what we're trying to do is reduce the fluid and increase the steam. Right, that fluid's not doing us any good. It's just sitting in there. We want that fluid to convert to steam. Ideally, we want our fluid volume to be pretty low, and we want the steam volume to be really high, and we can keep increasing the temperature really until that fluid volume is zero. So we need that fluid volume always to be positive. It could be 0.01. If our system is stable enough, we can run a really low fluid volume. Hello, President Camacho. How are you? Do you have any Brondo today? Is it glitchy? Is it using glitches though, or is it just huge? I have played with more boilers. I don't really need them yet. As you can see with this one boiler, we still have a positive fluid volume, so there's really no point. Once I get to the point where I get the fluid volume down to, let's say we get it down to 1 liter, and I don't want to go any lower than 1 liter, then I would need a second boiler to add more steam. So that's what I'm doing with the testing. So as you can see, with the higher temperature, the fluid volume's gone down, the steam volume's gone up. The atmospheres there, they were like 28, and now we have 37. As long as I can keep this running at 60 atmospheres, there's really no point in adding more steam because I'm capped out on atmospheres. So as you can see, now we're up to 5,200 SWATs, going from 250 to 280. And I want to check the temp on this real quick. Boiler temp 280. So the boiler temp, it's actually it's not the boiler temp. I had it reading boiler temp before. It's reading the reactor temp. As you can see, the boiler temperature is 122. If you look at this, it's at 280.2, so it's close to my set point. So we're already caught up. We're up to 5152. Let's read it. So you see, we're still going down in fluid volume. And we can only go up to 60. So let's go ahead and we're going to ramp it up a little bit. Let's go to, what did we do last time? 30. Let's go to 310. Let that run. So part of what I'm testing over here is if we look this 4-banger here and we have this 4-banger over here, I'm testing the flywheels in that. That's the only change. So the flywheel difference is going to be, I don't know why this one's so low. This one might be overheating a little bit. So see where the fluid volume is? It's at 0.011. They have very low fluid volume, and that's, we're likely not going to be able to get enough steam out of that. And part of the thing is here, if you look, the temperature is too high on the condenser. So likely what was happening with the condenser is the condenser overheated, and then we're not making any water. If you can look, if you watch the pistons, you can actually see the pistons speeding back up, and the reason is, I bet you the water went up. Yep, water went up. So what happened with this is a classic case where a lot of people are getting confused with steam. Is, again, if you get your condenser over 100 degrees, it's not going to make water anymore, and now you run out of water, you can't make steam, so everything slows down, it cools down, and then the condenser can condense again, water goes in, makes steam, and it speeds up again. And so people are like, why is it slow down, then speeds up, slow down, speeds up? It's because you're overheating your condenser. And so you can do a bunch of things to fix that. So example, one of my steam tutorials, I put temperature sensors from the front to the back, and the further away from the heat, which is the reactor in this case, you get the condenser, the better. So you want to put your condenser further away, and you want to run your cooling loop, say, for example, we're going to use ocean water in my submarine with a heat sink built in the hull. And that's going to make sure you get a steady supply of water. So as you see, this one's down pretty low. It's a 0.29. We got 53 atmospheres. Let's check our S-watts. So we're up to 6,000 S-watts. That's pretty good. So I'm going to start writing some data down. So let's see. We'll do example 1. We've got 310 degrees, and we're producing 6,000 S-watts. Let's see, reactor temp. All right, so the reactor temp, we got 310, 6,000 S-watts. And I want to check my condenser to see the temp of my condenser. 52. So this is ice cold. This has no problem producing for us. It's doing pretty well. Alright, so what I should do is dupe this one. Let's see. So I can't control. I got to start controlling for the temp and the rest of them. So I bet these are overheating. No, that one's not overheating right now. Let's see what the deal is. This one looks like it's running a lot hotter. I gotta check these. Alright, it's good. So some good tests on that. I meant to check the RPS on this before I went away. Let's go ahead, and what we'll actually do is let's trying to think if I want to do this right now or not. So one thing we can do is this. I hope I have all these hooked up. Again, I did this at work, and I can't remember exactly where I set all this up, so I gotta look at it. So this here is going to be reactor temp. Reactor temp. That is S-watts, and this is control rod. All right. All right, we're going to dupe these out. All right, we'll hook these up and then we can run some tests, some comparative tests. All right, that's set temp. That is linear track. I gotta hook all this stuff back up. SWATs. Control rods. Functions on. That is reactor temp. All right, good. And then functions on. Need to turn some of the stuff on. So like this one here should be further away. So this, we got some overheating problems, so I gotta move some of this shit. All right, so there's the condenser going back in here. All right, that's good there. That should be fine where that is. This one is probably far enough away. This one's going to be a problem again, so what we'll do is... that's going to be a different setup. We'll grab the... What the hell did I just click on? All right. Una más. All right, that's good there. And then we should be able to do the same one. And again, I don't really care right now about like ramp down because what I care about is I need to get the setup where I'm making maximal power or ideal power, and then I can play with doing things like better cooling systems and everything else later. I'm testing for one thing at a time. I'm not testing for a ton of things all at once. So I gotta go hook that pump into everything. That looks good there. And then I forgot to hook up that pump there, so that's got to go. All right, good. All right, so we'll give that a run. So part of this test is going to be checking out temperature. What's the ideal temperature for the reactor? So what I'll likely do is we'll do some logic where, for example, you have a initial set temp that's your ideal temperature, and then you can change it a little bit. You can add to it or subtract to it. So 310 was a good temp for us last time. And then, like, we'll do it where you add or subtract to it eventually when I get the final controller going. And what I'm trying to do is so that the generator, this isn't going to be electric propulsion system. It's going to be a direct drive system. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to see what the like generally the highest RPS I can get out of this generator. I don't know precisely what the prop comparison is going to be. That would be a fun test to do. See what I would need to gear up the generator to be to make it 1-to-1 for that propeller. Yeah, I don't cheat though. That's the problem. I have zero interest in cheating. I'll just turn on infinite electricity if I wanted to cheat. So using an electric heater is cheating because the devs programmed it wrong. So why would I cheat? There's no fun in it for me cheating. I might as well just put it on infinite electricity or infinite fuel. You know, I don't like cheating. That's no fun to me. So putting a, you know, using a glitch is cheating as far as I'm concerned, so I have no interest in doing it. So that's why I don't cheat. And I know there's plenty of ways to cheat, but I have zero interest in doing it. I'm not gonna be able to play for too long. Gotta go renew my license, which is annoying. Yeah, one method too some people will do is they'll do really high temperature initially as a quicker startup. I really don't care. The whole thing is like, this is a home ship. I'm going to jump on the ship. I'm going to start up the reactors, the first thing I'm going to do. And then I've got like a bunch of other crap to go do. So by the time I get that done, the reactor will be up to temperature. And then I'll be ready to go underway. And the reactor will pretty much run the whole time. And I also have patience, so I don't really care. It's like we're already almost up to temp. Yeah, you can see the we're already making steam, so it doesn't take that long. I know some people I don't know, they have no patience and instantly want it going, but I really don't care. I have some patience. Like, it takes me a good half an hour to get the airplane ready to go, you know, IRL. So it's like, that's pretty normal. Like, you get in, it takes you a little while to get going. And you got systems and tests, you gotta walk, just like the walk from me to go down to the reactor room and up the elevator to the top, it will be ready, you know. Yeah, that's been a known glitch for a long time, is making infinite electricity. You know, and the things are too is like, the devs aren't gonna take that out of the game because some people use it to have fun in the game, and I don't even think they should. I have no interest in using it, but I don't think they need to or should necessarily take the glitchy cheaties out of the game. It's just like, what's the point? Just, you know, leave that stuff in the game and people can either use it or not use it, you know? Alright, so we've got a good, yeah, so first case, so usually when it starts up, it's going better, and it's because that steam pressure built up, and so we got the first surge of steam pressure going through, and of course you're going to get a much higher power at that point. So stabilizing, it's stabilizing now around 61, 6200. And the number I care about really is the RPS, so 73. So I want to throw this into my submarine here in a minute and see what we get for... This will give me a viability check. Is it even viable what I'm trying to do with this? And the other thing too is this is not producing twice the power, and so that this is producing. And so on to Rasmus's question about have I tried more boilers. I have tried more boilers. It's easy to run more boilers. I haven't needed it until I need more steam. And so I likely what my thought would be why this one is not making twice the power of this one, which is half the size, is because we can't readily make enough steam to operate all these pistons. So the answer would be adding an additional boiler to up the steam volume. So probably get to that at some point. Again, we're kind of doing this step-by-step process to try to fine-tune it. And I don't want to waste any resources or money. So I don't want to go overboard with it either. So like we're currently at 48 atmospheres, and so 60 is the max. So if we can get more steam in there, we can get a higher atmospheres in there. So as soon as we get up to 60, the only way to make more power is to add more pistons, essentially. So I can increase my steam production up to the point where I hit 60, and then it doesn't matter because I need more pistons to reduce that the atmospheres down. All right, so we're making 58 right there. So like that's 58. This is 47. So let's say 4. So double would be 8,000 out of this. So if we look at the pressure, if I were to guess, pressure here is at 49. The pressure here is probably more. Yeah, 59. So this is about max capacity. So if we could add, adding a second boiler will get us more steam, which will likely make us be able to get double on that. So as you see here too, the fluid volume is really close to being 0. We still have a lot of steam in there. We have 173. If we look over here, I bet you the steam is less. Yeah, 4. And so what that's telling us is we have extra steam over here. We could put more pistons. Over here, we don't have enough steam to keep that up. And so by adding a second boiler, we'd probably have an excess of 174 steam because we've doubled it. But we can run at 60. So we'll probably end up doing that at some point. What's this testing? Each one's trying to test something different. So this is a small or medium piston rather. Medium piston's running 2300 S-watts. This one is not running for some reason. Why are you not running? Oh, why the hell are you not running? Probably because I didn't hook something up. Probably forgot to hook up the pump. That one's not running either. So these two, I gotta fix something. All right, something's not running. I gotta fix some stuff. All right, but we got some good data off this. Let's do another run. Yeah, I have no interest in glitches. Like, if people want to use them, great, fine. That's up to them. But I have zero interest in it because at that point, why don't I just turn on infinite electricity or whatever? That's kind of my thought on it. It's just there's no point to me at that point. It's I see zero. I have zero interest in doing it. It was the linear track was the problem here. And again, like a lot of people like to make fantasy builds, which would never be able to be built in game anyway. And so by using an infinite fuel source, they can now have their fantasy build. So I have no problem with if people want to do it. It just, I have no interest in it. Because that's the point. That's the thing that's fun to me is like, I built these working contraptions. I did the testing. I got them to work and made them work. Like I'm trying to convert right now from... because I started the submarine with nuclear, and then I went to diesel to see, is the sub even going to achieve the performance that I want? And the answer is yes. With big diesel engines, I can get it to work. And I know what the RPS I need is to be able to make the sub do what I want. So that testing is done. So now I'm going back. I'm trying to make a nuclear power supply that will give me those results with nuclear. And so it's like, that's what's fun to me. And then at the end, you have a cool machine that you did all the testing and building and everything else. It's not like flipping a switch and, yeah, I magicked up something. And so that's why I don't really like doing that. All right, so likely if we raise the temperature on this reactor, it's not going to do anything for us because we're out of water, essentially. This one, we could probably get more performance out of a higher... no, we couldn't because we're already maxed out on steam. We need more pistons on this. So there's no point in making any more power for these because we have... what the fuck is going on over here? Why is this tipped over? How are you tipped over? Oh, I know why it's doing it. Let's fix this real quick. All right. It's because that that condenser is tipping it over. Yeah, so that's the thing that I like with, you know, building these things is it's supposed to be a struggle, it's supposed to be a challenge. That's why I like the build challenges. You know, you have all these rules, and part of like some of the self-imposed rules with me is I'm not going to use any glitches. And like my new self-imposed rules are I'm not using anyone else's microcontrollers or anything. Like now that I've kind of got some Lua under my belt, I'm not using anyone else's screens from now on. I'm going to make them myself, and so that everything is made by me. And is it the most 100% optimal, perfect stuff? No, but it was made by me. So that's I get satisfaction out of that, you know. And if somebody gets satisfaction a different way, great. So right now what we're doing is we're going to try to kind of get an ideal temperature. Likely for an 8-cylinder, we're definitely going to need more boilers. Yeah, and again, people should play how they want, you know. I'm not shitting on anyone else's, you know, kind of rule set they want to use. You know, again, it's kind of like what I was talking about before with fantasy builds is like, you know, you need insane amounts of power for some spaceship you're building. Yeah, you're going to need to do some sort of glitch, and that's fine. You've come up with the glitch stuff. Some people use glitch engines, and then they fake so that it looks right. You know, maybe you just can't get, like, for example, one that I thought was a good way to do it is I like voice Schneider drives. You can't get a real voice Schneider going in game. Some people have come close to doing it, but it's not powerful enough. So what they've done is they've used water jets hidden in the fuel tanks or somewhere in the build, and then it looks like the Voith is driving it, but it's actually the water jets. And so that's a cool way to do it, you know. So one test I want to do is we'll kind of should be able to run it with this one. So part of what I'm trying to do is this is for its smoothing effect only. This isn't any of that cheaty bullshit with slipping clutches to make infinite power. The point again is, I'm trying to think of a good way to put this. So say your engine's running and the RPM's going up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. One way you can kind of fix that is with a flywheel. So it takes you longer to get the engine started and going, but every little, like, say, a little hiccup in power creation you're getting that would normally make an oscillation, the flywheel is spinning at the same rate, and so it dampens that. It works as a dampener. And so that as it goes to, like, decrease power, well, the flywheel is saying, okay, I'll take over, I'll help. And so it reduces oscillations, so you get a much smoother power output by putting in mass. And this is one of the reasons why you have flywheels, is it conserves that energy. So I'm curious. I want to throw this one in the submarine and see what I can get for speeds. You know, the other kind of, you know, all my ships are pretty much diesel. And so having a nuclear ship would be really is new and interesting and cool to me. And that's part of the reason I wanted to build the submarine. I'm still very torn on whether or not I like the new rounded bow or not. I kind of lean towards the squared one, but we'll see. Alright, let's see where we're at here. But again, like a lot of people aren't thinking through these. So right now we have 60 atmospheres of pressure in there. And so of course we're building steam, right? The steam can't go anywhere. So the steam is not going into the pistons. So it's building up in the boiler, which is fine. Okay. If you notice, the fluid volume is very low. So all of the water has turned into steam. Now, watch what happens. The pressure goes down, which makes sense, right? As the piston lets pressure in, lets volume in, the pressure goes down, right? And so it's going to settle. And now we have only 4.8 steam in reserve. And so we could go about another 15 atmospheres on this. So 2 boilers is going to be overkill. But if we think about it, right, I'm going to probably put 2 of these sets of pistons in for driving. So 1 reactor and 2 boilers should be able to run 16 pistons. And if that works, we'll have 8 pistons on the port side, 8 pistons on the starboard side, 1 reactor, and 2 boilers. And that should be able to run that up at 60 atmospheres. And like I said, once you hit 60 atmospheres, the only way to make more power is going to be to put more pistons in, or turbines, or whatever you're running. But in this case, pistons. So like this, we're at 174 units of steam because we're capped out here on atmospheres. We're at 59.9. We can't go any higher on our steam pressure. It's maxed. And because it's maxed, we are starting to get a backup of steam, which is fine. And that's actually a good thing. That's our buffer. Because if you look at the fluid volume, right, the fluid volume is close to 0. It's going pretty much 0 to 0.2. And the reason this is good is because this one shouldn't slow down over time because we have a lot of reserve of steam. And if you look, it's sitting right around 174 units of steam the whole time. So this one's not going to oscillate too badly where we start going for 5 minutes and then the ship slows down by 10 meters per second. All right, the ship should stay the same speed because we're not losing steam volume. Now, like this one here, we're not losing steam volume either. It's at 4.2, so it should stay pretty constant on its motion. But we're not working this at its max. So like if this was a 6-cylinder, this might be running better. But what we'll do is we'll increase to 2 boilers. So if you look, we're at 58 S-watts. This one's at, say, between 42 and 47. But let's say 42. So we're talking 8,400 S-watts. We should be able to get 8,400 S-watts out of each 8-piston system. But we need more boilers, essentially. This one I don't really care about. That one's just the 8-cylinder medium. This one, I didn't friggin' start. That's helpful. I didn't start that one. So this one here is, the reason why this one's moving like stink is it's not actually connected. So let's connect it. And again, this one is, the whole point here is if you saw that other 4-cylinder, it was going from like 42, 47, 42, 47, 42, 47. That's what this is trying to solve for, is to stop that nonsense. And so we're going to try to get that fixed where every time the pistons try to slow down, the flywheel takes off some of that load. Every time it speeds up, the flywheel, it tries to, it acts as a little bit of a brake. it tries to keep things constant. If you look, the output isn't going 2722, 2722. It's going down quite a few decimal places. So let me check what's different between these two. Try to check the two 4-cylinders here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Stop, you bastard. I'm getting stuck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So likely we're losing some power with the flywheels, so maybe just too many flywheels here. It could be a slower ramp up too. You notice the number has come up, so we'll see if this eventually gets up there. Let's also check some of these numbers, make sure these are comparable. Alright, so here's a problem here. If you look, the other 4-cylinder has 174 steam in reserve. This one has lots of fluid. We're not making enough steam, so let's see why this one's not doing its thing. Yeah, this one's at 33 atmospheres, that's why. So this one's is at way too low of a pressure. I gotta figure out why that one's doing that. It's got plenty of fluid volume, so it's not a condenser issue. I gotta see what's going on here. 310. Coolant's moving, that's fine. Temperature's good. Let's rack the temperature on this one. Let's go 350. So ideally, there's no point in having a ton of fluid volume sitting in this boiler. I want it to convert all to steam. Alright, there it goes. You notice the fluid volume's going down. Steam's going up. And with that, the pressure should go up. So again, the point is to get these 1-to-1, and we'll test if those flywheels are actively helping to settle out the oscillations or not. The answer is no, it's a waste. I'm going to rack this up even more. Let's go 400. I need to burn that fluid off. Curious what the difference is on this. If it's just back pressure, it could be back pressure from the flywheels. But see how the steam is, we've got almost no water in this boiler. It's all like stored steam. And our pressure is just about max here, so we're at maximum pressure. So this is what we want. This one's running ideally. See what this one's running at. This one's at very low, so let's see what this one's doing to us here. Yeah, this one is same thing. Low steam, high fluid. So this one, Jesus Christ. This one could use a temp boost, likely. Alright, so that's up to 400. And we're starting to lose water and increase steam, which is what we want. Yeah, slipping clutch is free cheating energy. I have no desire to do that. Slipping clutch would burn the clutch out in about 20 seconds. You don't do a slipping clutch in real life. There's a reason why automatic cars have a torque converter that's fluid, is because, you know, if you try slipping the clutch, you're just going to burn up your clutch. So likely, let's see, I would bet you this is overheating maybe, or close to it. No, that's good. Okay, let's see. Let's see what's going on here. Fluid volume's down. Did I screw up a pipe? Let's check, make sure I didn't screw up a pipe. That's just disconnected, that's fine. Those are fine. Got plenty of water in it. Yeah, so I don't know what the deal is with this. I might have screwed something up. I gotta check it. That looks good. Make sure I don't have a hole somewhere in here. Could just be too long of a run over here, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with this one. This one's being funky. That one is being funky. So like this one here is right around 4 change. This one's a pretty stable actually. This one's stable around 5, 6. This one's doing pretty well. Alright, we're gonna save this and then we're gonna throw the big one, this one here, into my submarine. Let's not do that. Stop, please. My God. Let's actually do this. Let's keep testing for a little bit. I don't have too much time before I have to go, but I want to make some useful tests here first. All right. All right, so we'll make some changes here. That looks good. This looks good. This one needs another boiler, is what this one needs. So this one needs an additional boiler. What's it hitting? That one block there. All right. All right, good. So that's set up there. Second boiler. All right, so we need to increase the volume of steam for this one so that we can feed all of the cylinders that we're running. All right, good. So that's now got a second boiler in there. We should have plenty of hot water to go through here. Because this reactor should be fine to run lots of hot water, so. All right, there's the dual boiler setup. All right, there we go. Put some blocks down so we don't knock this sucker on the ground. All right, so that's a dual boiler setup on this one. That should be pretty good. And then what do I want to do on this one? What did I want to do on this one? I'm trying to remember. This one is fine for all that. We'll just run it for now and see what it looks like. All right. But the big one, likely the 8 cylinder is going to be the one for us. So the difference testing, the main one we're testing is between the single boiler and double boiler setup. Not having too many testing going on is going to be helpful too, just to keep everything consistent. Time do I have to be there? I'll leave in a little bit. I got some time. Yeah, so the other thoughts I'm having with how I want to do this. So right now, kind of the way I have this set up is you can open this up and I was thinking of making it so you could take out the nukes, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't know if I want to put a removable reactor. So if I did a removable reactor that could be craned out of there, what you would do is pull the reactor and then you would bring the reactor section into the workbench and that's how you would fill it. I think that's a bunch of bullshit. It sounds like a cool idea, but it's never going to get really used. I think the better way to do it is just, you know, like even with the home ships that I leave out for quite a few play sessions, eventually they're going back in the workbench. And then they'll refund the uranium to the workbench, and then I need to restock the workbench with the uranium. So making a removable reactor I don't think is really all that helpful. Like I could make it look like it can be refilled or whatever, but and this really doesn't take that long. Like we're at 70 degrees. Once it hits 100, we're off to the races. So maybe a couple minutes to get your reactor. And like I said, I can't walk from the engine room up to the bridge in the amount of time it'll probably take for this to get there. You know, and I got a bunch of other things to set up. Like I have to load the vehicles separately when I launch the home ship. So, you know, I have to launch the home ship, I'll go fire up the reactor, and then I'll go land a helicopter on it. And then I'm going to be loading containers. So to be worried about how long it takes for these to start turning is pretty silly, frankly. Control rods going, so we've hit top temp, and you can see how much resistance this has because it's fighting against all those gearboxes and the generator. So right there it's at 60 atmospheres, and the reason it's at 60 is it's just built up that pressure, and the more steam volume we have going in there, notice the steam out pressure is going up, and that's why you might think, oh, it's at 60 atmospheres. But yeah, it's like, there we go with 60 atmospheres right there. That's the one that's going to get it moving. And of course your SWAT's going to go very high at first, like I said, because you have all this built up steam pressure. And now it's going to start settling out. So like if we look there too, we can see what the ideal boiler pressure is. There's going to be an ideal boiler pressure for us. And so so we're kind of doing secondary control. We care about what the steam boiler pressure is, but the reactor is commanding the steam boiler pressure, and so we can change the steam boiler pressure by changing the reactor temperature. So like that's looking pretty good there. We're currently at 46 atmospheres. We're doing pretty well, and we're making 6,000 S-watts. Over here, again, the test is we're storing steam because we don't have enough pistons to use it all, and because we have excess steam, we have max pressure, which is this is the max about 4 is going to do for us. This one's still humming along. What do we got here? Why is this one not turning? Pump on true. Something's screwed up, and then it just sucks. I gotta fix this. I have no fluid volume. Why do I have no fluid volume? I gotta look at that. Shit. That just ruined that test. This one's moving at least. This one I'm not testing anything. This is just a copy, so. Yeah, so I gotta see why this test failed. So. Shit, this sucks. Alright. Reactor temperature's good. Boiler temperature is looking good. No water's going through. We have no fluid volume, so I gotta restart the test. And that's it's kind of eating up my time. Let's see what's up here. Why are these not filling with water is the question. Everything merged. Everything's merged. Don't know why that's not filling. That's steam. We got a common steam pipe going out. And that goes to the pump. Okay, right here. That would do it. All right. I don't really need this, so I'll get rid of it. Because I can read the pressure off the pump anyways, and I'll get rid of this one just for continuity. That would do that. I meant to fix that and I didn't. All right, that should be good. Let's run a quick test here. And it's going to be a lot easier to cool, like, we're going to have no problem cooling off the steam and condensing. Because I can do long runs of the actual heat sink to cool off the condenser. I'm going to probably do some electrolysis to make my own fresh water as well, just for fun. Hello, Jay. How are you? I saw you and I forgot to say hi. But yeah, so again, that's the thing, and understanding the relationship what these numbers mean. This is where a lot of people that struggle with the game is they're not understanding what's going on, and so they're like, oh, I keep turning up my temperature and it's not making any more power. And so they'll say that, for example, for this one, they'll say I keep increasing my temperature and this isn't making any more power. Yeah, it's not going to, because if we looked at the number, right, we're using up all the fluid and we don't have enough boiler essentially to keep this one filled with steam, and so turning up the temperature is not going to do anything. But what you can use is you have enough reactor to now double your boilers and essentially theoretically double the steam. And like if we can get 1-to-1 results with this second boiler, we're going to get essentially the same results with this. The fluid's going to turn all into steam. We're going to have an excess of 174 units of steam. and then we'll have an excess amount of steam, which is what we want, because I'm gonna vent some of that steam off to either a turbine or a different set of pistons, which will run generators, which will be for our electrical generation. And essentially what it will do is it will let out just enough steam to cover our power generation needs. Hello, Walter. How did I get the reactor in such a small space? I'll show you how it's built. It's not too complicated. So essentially you have a linear track, and you have a set of, what is it, five fuel rods, and then you have 2 control rods going down, and then this just fills with enough water, how much it needs. I could put more water in this unit. What I'll probably do is electrolysis to fill this. The reason why it's not full is because it just takes longer to heat up. So I don't need all that water, so I don't have all that water. So like right now we're already up to about temp. The boiler's pretty close. It's already producing steam. So if this was full of water, it would just take longer is all it would really do. It would have a greater thermal capacity where eventually once it heats up all that water, it will stay heated up longer. But I don't really care or need that, so. And again, this is going to go to 60 atmospheres, and the pistons aren't going to start moving until it has the back pressure here to actually keep it going. So you'll see those will start about when this hits 60. You see it's 43, and then as soon as this hits 60, watch the pistons start moving. And that's just an understanding of how pressure works, right? You can have a very high pressure but a low volume, right? You can have a milliliter of oil at 60 atmospheres, and that 60 atmospheres of 1 milliliter of oil is not going to be enough to move the pistons, right? Of course it isn't. But if you had, you know, thousands and thousands of liters of oil at 60 atmospheres, yes, that's going to be able to move the pistons, right? Of course. And it's the volume that we needed. That's why these didn't turn until the volume was high enough to turn. All right, so let's check this one. So that's looking pretty good. This doesn't have any extra steam. Let's look at this one. All right, that's pretty good. Let's see what the pressure looks like. So let's see if it's a little higher. Not quite running the double boilers at full efficiency. So that's 46. So this is running better, but not by much at the moment. It's starting to build up. You can see it's starting to increase. It's just taking some time. Yeah, we still have a good excess fluid volume over here. Might try racking up the temp, but like, let's look. This is at 6. Yeah, that's disappointing at the moment. That's the same. See what's going on here. We should be better off on this one because we have the excess steam, but we don't. Likely what's happening is I need to increase the temp on this. Let's try that. Let's try banging that up. See if I can make more steam, but I could be like, I gotta be careful of back pressure too on these, but it looks pretty good. Like if you look on the fluid inside, it's only at 0.8 atmospheres, so there's no back pressure on this system. Right now we have a lack of volume. So again, like I talked about that volume, yes, the fluid out pressure is higher, but the volume is lower. So we don't have, you know, essentially if you think about it, it's the volume times the pressure gives you your power, you know, basically. And if we have a very high pressure but a low volume, we don't have much force. If we have a high pressure, high volume, we have a lot of force, and that's what we're trying to get to. So like if you notice, this is about double the steam in this one boiler than the double boiler, and so that's increased volume at about the same atmosphere. So we'll have to keep playing with this. 58. Yeah, this one's suffering right here. Let's check what the temp is over here. That's good. So I'll have to play with this, see why this boiler, this double boiler setup's not working for us. Yeah, because we're just down on fluid volume. Try to get a matched temp on these. 158. Let's go back down. Yeah, so like if you think about, I'll bring up a quick picture. We'll do this, kind of exemplify what I'm talking about. I know hydraulics better than steam is hydraulics, right? Steam is hydraulics. It's it's water, steam, water vapor. It could be, I don't know if it's people consider it pneumatics, but here, let's do this. So essentially, like if you're thinking about, we'll do it as, we can do it as steam, is fine. Probably conceptualize that fine. So like if we talk about, you have a cylinder here, right? Maybe let's just actually do it as a piston. So here is the top chamber. So there's the top chamber of the piston, right? And then we want to make what's going on here? Oh, that's why I didn't want to put those. I want to put those on a layer. Alright, so like here is your here's the top of your cylinder. Right there, okay. And then you have your pistons in there. And so the way the pistons would look is like this. Okay, that's your piston. Come on, what am I doing here? There we go. So there are your two pistons, right? And so if you put in, and we're going to input, let's put piping. So like let's say you have a pipe going in the top, right, and that's going to feed steam to the top. And then you have a pipe going into the bottom, and that's going to feed steam into the bottom, right? And so pressure is essentially a volume taking up the smaller space. So if you put in, say you had a little container and you have a container with 1 liter in there, right? You could have it at a very high pressure, right? But as soon as this high pressure of this small volume goes through this line, right? As soon as it comes, you sucker. As soon as that starts coming through here, right? Yes, it's at a very high pressure, but it's at a low volume. And as soon as it goes into this big space, it's going to decrease pressure and increase volume. And so it's losing its power. Now, if you say on the other side, you have a pipe going in here and you have a pipe going in here, right? And now you have a massive reservoir. So here's your massive reservoir that's double the size of this volume, or more, say quadruple. Let's make it double. So this here is, there's 1 to 1. That's 2 to 1. So now this storage tank here is double the volume of this here, right? Or 1 to 1 on this. As you go in there and you open up a channel to go from, oh, you sucker. As you open up a valve to let that go through, right, the pressure in here is very, very high because it's taking all of this volume and it's at a certain pressure. It's trying to go through this tiny little opening. The pressure is skyrocketing. But now as soon as you go to here, right, the pressure drops from in the pipe. But because this is double the volume of this, right, and let's say this is, we'll make up numbers here real quick. Say, let's say this is 10 atmospheres, right? That's 10 atmospheres inside here. Well, this is half the space, right? So that's going to be 20 atmospheres. That's 20 atmospheres, right? And so that's increasing the pressure because it's in a smaller volume. Now, that would be if you have one-way check valves and everything else, but you're essentially you're taking a large volume at 10 atmospheres and you're making it into a smaller space, you're doubling the pressure. Now, as the piston goes down, as the piston starts to go down here, right, the volume is increasing inside. Now, let's say it's 3/4, right? So now you're no longer at 20 atmospheres anymore. What layer am I on? No, it's not there. I grab the let's see. What is going on? Why can't I delete? Oh, because I didn't hit escape. Okay, that's why. So that's no longer 20 atmospheres anymore. Because the volume's 3/4 of this, right? So you'd say that would be, let's see, I'm trying to think, it'd be a quarter more. So it'd be 12.5. So it'd be like 12.5 atmospheres inside because this is a little bit, is 25% smaller than over here. And then what you do is you put a one-way check valve, and now as soon as it gets below this point, well, now the steam has a place to go out, and it's going to go back in. And so that would be how you'd have it circulating there. So you have a change in that. So having a tiny little volume, as soon as it goes in this large space, the pressure just dumps, it drops. So hopefully that makes some sort of sense. If you're thinking about it like that, it starts to make sense why some of this is doing what it's doing. All right, this is pretty stable. I'd say that's pretty stable. 58 is pretty good on this one. Let's check it. Doing 71 RPS. This is a lot of up gearing, so we'll see if this is enough to turn that prop. This is the double here, and we're so this is close. That's 58. This is a little less. I got to figure out why I'm not getting enough boiler on here. It could be volume problems, though. If we look at the coolant, it's not that, because the coolant could be if we hit 11.5 atmospheres, the pump's not strong enough. But it's looking pretty good. We got 17.97 atmospheres of coolant going in there. Yeah, so look, so I think we might need more pumping to get the reactor fluid in there. That could be it. All right, let's save this as a test. Compound, like you mean like expansion, multiple expansion? I haven't played with it too much. I've been thinking about it, but I want to get some of the basics done first before I start overcomplicating it. I have tried some things where, for example, I'm using the waste steam to try to increase. The other thought is you have a piston going into a piston, into a piston, into a piston. But, you know, that's, I got to do so many different variable testing, and I want to get my submarine running first. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead and let's go throw this in the submarine before I have to go get ready for my appointment. I picked up work this week, and I've got like 2 days off with a bunch of errands to run, and then I've got 6 days on, and then I've got 6 days off, so that will have some more free time then. All right, let's copy this. Go throw this in the submarine and see if we can't do at least a test. Because I could spend all day, all month working on getting a reactor until I kind of know what it's going to do. In my submarine, I don't give a shit because it's frankly, it's not going to work. Why am I wasting my time on it right now? So this is the current setup that gives me the performance I want. It's 6-cylinder 5x5s. And so I want to, they should be symmetrical. Okay. 6-cylinder 5x5. So this, again, like I said, you want to test where you're seeing, can I do the thing I want to do? And if the answer is no, then you say, okay, well, it's not possible. And so part of it was test it with some big diesels, see if I can even get the speeds I want and the performance I want. And once I get the performance I want, I know it's possible, then try to replicate it using a different propulsion method. And that's why I did it this way is I got to go first with that. Okay, that's good. What's this shit here? Just stanchion. Okay. And now we should. Why didn't that? Okay, that was a little off centered. I forgot that. Okay, that's good. All right, there's the pistons. This takes up a ton of space. Takes up so much space. We're almost there, though. It's pretty damn close. Can I go 1, 2? 1, 2, maybe? I think that's in line right there. That is. Okay. How's that? Oh, okay. I got to cut the floor out a little bit. Luckily, I have some headroom to work with here. I can cut out some floor space, and I want to cut out some floor space. Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm upside down again. And before I causes problems here, there is a physics flutter in this lower compartment that needs to be killed. Right there, bingo. And this is going to have right here my hallway, so I want this at this lower level anyway. And then these are the diesel fuel tanks, which I can get rid of, which is nice. It's going to have diesel storage tanks and jet fuel storage tanks for the vehicles that run in here, so that you can fuel up your rescue vehicles and what's nots. Okay. I may regret deleting that, but let's put that back for now. Okay. Can't see where this actually is. That looks right. That looks right there. All right. Shit, this is hitting. Let's see. Did I delete out the wall? No, that's it's just you it. All right. I really gotta get going here in a minute, but I want to get a quick test out of this if I can. That about right? That looks good. All right. All right, let's get a quick. Jesus Christ, the flicky camera annoys the hell out of me. All right, I gotta get a quick gearbox set up in here, and then make sure these are symmetrical enough. Perfect. All right, I like that. So one thing I'm going to do is I have a wheel on here. I'm going to test this. I've been wanting to do this system where I essentially have a wheel and I can use the brakes, and that's the only reason. And so when I shift from forward to reverse, I want to stop the propeller before it clutches in so that we don't get a shift shock, essentially. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's just do this, it'll be easier. Now, try to get a quick test in before I have to go. All right, there we go. That should be good. I need a clutch in there somewhere. My God, give me a throttle. And I need a quick speed sensor in there. And that's all good. That should hopefully run. And then I just need the speed sensor here. So I can sit down here and play with these and make them work at the same time. All right. I'm trying to see where that linear is set right there. Okay, that's the linear right there I want. All right, let's hopefully get this test done. How's it going there, Mr. Nobuz? How are you? That message will go away. Are they really that heavy? Or am I flooding? Okay, it's full of fuel because of fuel spawners, likely, or I put a friggin' hole in here I gotta get rid of. Right there, hole right there. All right. Let's do this real quick here. That should fix. Thanks, Symmetry. All right, there we go. That should fix the hull. So physics flutters will fix that message. Jesus, that's not helpful. God damn it. I'm gonna make this as difficult as possible. I know it is. Alright. So always when I need to get the hell out of here, it's doing this shit. Alright, there we go. So we were doing like 30-something knots on the surface and like 65 at one point submerged. So I don't need that performance, but I like somewhere near close. Shadow, it was doing about 6-something. I should be able to get it up to 8. I just got to work out the boilers. Shadow, if you look at my... So, the other thing, too, a lot of people have issues with submarines is this is what my ballast looks like. These are all battle cannons. Like, you can see the insane amount of battle cannons. This thing weighs like 200-something thousand kilograms, this ship. That's all the battle cannons in there. And then it's full of water as well. And so people underestimate how much buoyancy all this air makes. And so you need to have... lots of ballast to counteract that. And so by having hard ballast, you don't need a lot of water. And so when people are like, oh, I got to pump in 200,000 liters of water. No, you don't. Fill it with battle cannon pieces. It doesn't take up the space the water takes up. Because the submarine, if you notice, like submarines aren't sitting way high in the water. Submarines are sitting low in the water, and that's because of all the hard ballast they have in there. And then you only need to add a little water. And you don't need to go negatively buoyant. You need to go, it's ideally you want to go neutrally buoyant. You know, and maybe you go plus or a little bit, but you don't really need to go plus or minus much. You just want neutral buoyancy. Okay, I did flip this. I was like, oh my god, where's my pump? And it's over. It's on the other side. So likely, like, this isn't a hard situation to fix the spacing in this. The reactors and the boilers are going to go in center likely, and the pistons are going to stay where they are, and then you're just going to pipe out the steam. I just want to throw this in there quickly. And then part of the reason we get that message of all the different shapes is, like, you see how shapy it is in here? Well, this is going to get squared up in a room, and there are going to be physics flutters anywhere there are all these shapes. And that helps calm it down. And it used to not have that message. The message is there because, you know, this bottom section used to have a physics flutter in it, so... get that fixed up. You know, and the point of the submarine, for those who might know, this is a hangar in here. So this is taking helicopters and everything else. There's an elevator. I'll play with the elevator as well. This is heating up. So I gotta look at it. Oh, that's why. Okay. Yeah, so here's the top door. Goes and slides out. And then there is a elevator that goes up and down here. And that will take in containers. That will take in helicopters and everything else. So like you'll put containers on top here on this elevator. The elevator will go down, and then they'll slide into forward slots, or they can stay on the door. Ideally, you'll slide them in so that you can put a helicopter on this elevator. And that's this elevator. Okay, they're running now. Alright, good. These are running pretty good now. Let's go ahead. I gotta do this test so I can get out of here. It's supposed to be there at like 2:50. So here's my. Let's get moving first. I'll show you guys the elevator if I have time. Nah, it doesn't sound like. I gotta go play with the gear ratios. But they're connected, so let's see. So currently that's showing 2. Really, it needs more gearing? This side did not get multiplied at all? What the fuck? What's going on here? Did these not get set to 3 to 1s? God damn it. This is why testing takes so long to get this started. I'll try to run one more test. No, I gotta get going here. Let me check these. 3-1, 3-1, 3. Yeah, these are all 3-1s. That's why. No, the ratio. Okay. Shit, I screwed up. Why is this so bad, though? Do I just need that much more gearing? Because they're moving like bats out of hell right now. Oh, you know what it is? They're set to 1 to 1s. God damn it, I shouldn't have undone that. That would let me shut them off. I got them backwards. That's fine. Shit. Let's try a quick one. See if I have time. Go do this. We got 30 minutes. Let's fire them up. They're currently shut off. That's why. To an off ratio. I'll show you guys the elevator. I know there's some new people who haven't seen it. So the other elevator here is the personnel elevator, which is kind of a fun feature of this. So we've got, we call the elevator. Elevator's going to come down. Could increase the speed in the elevator a little bit. I'm keeping it kind of slow just to make sure it doesn't throw you, the character, around while this is moving. So it shows you it's on the 2nd floor. We're down on 1. So once it gets down to 1, it will open up. There's 1. All right, good. I'm going to go ahead. We'll go to 2. Elevator goes up. No, I've got an appointment. I got to get a new license. Here's another room in here. 3. Yeah, I had it set to 1 to 1 was the problem. All right, here's another room in here. 4. 4 is that floor we were on before where we can go into the bridge. Come in here. This is in the superstructure. Go up to the bridge. And then we can go out the back here. And then if we go up to 5 is kind of cool, so as we get close, the door will open. And that's up here, so that's on the top. And then if we go back down, this door will close. And you can hear that door just sealed. So it's sealed so that the, it'll stay watertight. Should be getting close to the start. So what I essentially did is I put the ratios backwards so that they're all off. So I'll start to click them on. I'll actually just do that now. So these should be 3 to 1s now. Hopefully we're getting close here because I got to go, We're pretty close. I still have time. My appointment's in like 36 minutes and it's like a 10-minute drive, so just throw on a jacket and go. building up steam now. Yeah, so kind of that, I hope that kind of diagramming was helpful, like understanding it, because, you know, people say, oh, it's showing 60 atmospheres, but it's not moving. Yeah, you don't have the volume of steam. You have this, you have a tiny little, you know, Coke can's worth of steam, and you're trying to make that Coke can worth of steam fill all of these pistons. And of course that's not going to happen, right? You would need at least a cylinder at least the size of all of the volumes of these pistons at that pressure to be able to power them at that pressure. And so that, hopefully that makes sense, you know. All right, good. So we're up and running here. Let's get the other one going. All right, there we go. We're up and running. Now you can hear the reaction being modulated. So not too shabby, but it's probably not as high as I'd like, but I still likely have more power left in the... So right now we're doing... This is actually pretty promising. Let's see right now. We're doing... let's see. Surface. We're doing... it's still climbing, too. So say 20... I think those are knots. 20 knots. And then submerged should be faster. That's actually, I'm happy with that already. We should be able to squeeze more power out of this, definitely. But this was a good proof of concept. Because as you can see, they're still moving pretty fast. I can put more, increase the gear ratios on them. And likely to get this to move even faster. We still have a good steam volume. So we have actually a lot of fluid, which means I can increase the temp to convert that fluid into steam. And again, like I said, right, we increase our steam volume, we can get that, it's the volume of steam times the pressure. So the higher the volume, the pressure maxes out at 60. The only thing we can do is increase the volume. And let's see, we're doing 20, good, 20 knots on the surface, and it's increasing at the moment. If I can get that volume down, we should be good. So you can see the volume is starting to go down, and I'm making more steam by increasing the temperature in there, which makes sense, right? I'm able to convert more water into steam. Let's go 400s on these. It's actually pretty damn good right now, because the submerged, like, it was too high for me before. And I can increase the gear ratios on those. Yeah, so see, we're increasing our speed pretty well there. And then let's see if I can get a submerged speed here. Yeah, I might need ballast. I need ballast. I'm gonna need ballast to sink, and I don't have the ballast set up right now, so. I need some ballast to sink, but that's not bad. I should be able to probably get, I don't know, 35, 40 knots underwater currently, and I'm planning on increasing the speed. So that's pretty damn good. But yeah, that's kind of what the point of this submarine is it's a home ship. So it's got enough space so it's got your helm, it's got a couple rooms for living in. It's going to have some space up in here for some stuff. The main value of this, so it's got this room in here, this room down here, this room here, this room here. That's not a room. And then it's got this is your main hangar. Plenty of room for containers to be slid into the nose here and stacked. Like I could stack 2 on top of each other at least. Slide them up front, which will have a gantry crane, which will pick them up and put them, and they'll store in the front here. And then you can put vehicles, land vehicles, sea vehicles, whatever you want in here. You're going to be able to have, put your helicopter on there, and the cool thing is you could put in multiple helicopters and land vehicles because the elevator can stop in any position. So the elevator could be where it's at now, if I can find it. So like the elevator can be 50% of the way up there, and we can have a helicopter sitting on there, and we could have 2 land vehicles sitting underneath the elevator, like that. So, but good work on this. I'm gonna go ahead and put this away, and I gotta go. So we'll save this as a good update. But yeah, I really wanted to get rid of the diesels. I have diesels in a lot, and I want to make something nuclear. But there's plenty of room to improve this. So let's see. What's today? Today is the 22nd. All right, guys. So I think we'll finish it up there. I got to go. It was good to see everybody. Thanks for everybody for joining. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you're new and you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. And I will see you guys in the next one.